Well, there was so many, you're from a small town.
Yeah.
Most stories have a little bit of truth, and they just breed tentacles and they go in every direction. So the purpose of the second autopsy was to either include or exclude what the first pathologist, there was some riffraff between the pathologist and one of the investigating officers. And we're all human. I'm not even going to speak. Maybe pathologist had a bad day. Maybe the officer had a bad day. But some things got documented about the location of Stephen and why she made the determination that he was killed, by a vehicle versus pedestrian accident. And so that started the answer that was documented in the report. I guess fueled some rumors. Then all the things that you and I talked about, the clothing, the location. And I'm going to tell you, you're right. This is in the middle of nowhere. The mailman probably only delivers there twice a week. That's how far out this is. And it's dark, Collier. It's dark.
Yeah.
There's no ambient light at the time. The pines were really, really high on one side, and there was some kind of crop in the field on the other side. So unless the moon was right above, there probably wasn't much moonlight. And all those things rolled into one. So the purpose of this autopsy was just to, number one, you've got not just a pathologist and maybe a assistant. You had two or three very, very reputable pathologists and anthropologists, and you did it all under chain of custody. So Mr. Smith was treated very, very professionally, and he was taken to a neutral area out of state, and they performed a complete autopsy. And I'm sure that, I'm not that kind of doctor. I've got post hole digger after my name, but they're medical doctors. And I'm sure that they beat it around and they verified everything. And from what I understand, it was a complete success, which doesn't always happen after that amount of time. So they started on that side, and I went back, and not saying any of the officers are wrong. I went back, I took the original reports, and I went back and I took my agent with me, and I redid all the measurements. I actually was within 4 inches, I believe, of where Mr. Smith came to rest in the road. And I walked it one way, I walked it another way. I took every possible path from his car to that location. And I actually met some people, and I'm not at liberty to talk about that because I still have to pass it on. But I met some folks that had some great information on the history and the landscape at that time. And hopefully it'll be helpful because, a lot of things have changed in 8 years, but a lot of things are still constant. And you could look in the horizon. One of the things I use satellite imagery, and I use Google Maps. And one of the things that I honed in on, and a lot of people don't think about this, but a pine tree grows from sapling to mature now in 22 years.
Yeah.
And I may be off a year or two, but real fast. But your oak trees and your hardwoods grow really, really slow. So I was able to identify some hardwoods in the horizon, and I used those to triangulate my spot. And then when we found the GPS marker on the power pole close by, it was like 4 inches off. So you've got all these pink boxes out in the road that different news organizations had painted, which I think is a little disrespectful to leave there in the highway for everyone to see.
Mm-hmm.
But not only was it a little bit disrespectful to Stephen and his family, they were in the wrong spot. So it was personal gratification to be able to find that location. And then we just worked backwards. And when we walked 2.8 miles this way, we'd get back in the truck and measure it. And then we'd measure it out the other way. And then we walk that way. And I think I'm still working on the report, but I gathered plenty of information to verify a lot of the facts of the original report. And when the official report is made access to myself and some of the other team members, I'm sure we're going to have a war room, and we're going to come together, and we're going to put our heads together and figure out a couple possibilities. And then we'll include or exclude those. And if we're led down the wrong rabbit hole, we will exclude it and we'll get back on it. And I really am excited at the opportunity of giving the Smith family some answers.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you couldn't give me a $100 new pony. You couldn't give me a new pony and make me happier than the opportunity to give them some answers after so long.
Yeah, it's closure is a funny thing.